If you want to be happy, how do you do it? Well, the good news is there's actually a formula or an algorithm that you can follow and plug everything into. I'm in the process of actually finalizing this, and it's a very, very detailed mathematical algorithm that you can look at and saying, where am I on each one of these factors? And this is the algorithm which is being proven right now, and I'm very close to finishing it, and it'll be a book out called The Happiness Algorithm. It's virtually a formula or a recipe to keep happy and make sure that you're just not depressed or down or low or feeling a case of the blues. Let me just give you some of the elements of the happiness algorithm that are in there. The first one is genetics. The problem is in your DNA, if you're basically programmed, if you have programming in your DNA from your ancestors on your mother's side and your father's side to be depressed, then you're kind of screwed. But there is a way that you can correct that. Epigenetics is a word that a lot of people use, and it basically means that an outside influence can affect the DNA. And this has been scientifically proven to be true, even though it's very, very controversial. But we do know an outside influence now, and when you say we're talking scientists, like real scientists with PhDs that do real research, that it gets really published. Okay, so now nobody can question it when it's in the scientific community. They still question it if it doesn't follow the mainstream line. But at the end of the day, these are real PhD researchers and scientists at major universities around the world that are doing real double-blind studies and publishing stuff with peer-reviewed, which means their peers, other PhDs, review it and try to poke holes in the research. And when it gets peer-reviewed, it gets published. Look, you can argue with it, but those are the facts. That's the data. Okay. So we do know that epigenetics is real, and outside influence can change that. We also know, and I've been talking about this for decades and laughed at, now scientists have proven that if your ancestor had a trauma, that trauma is in your DNA. If your ancestor fell out of a plane and almost killed himself, and they developed a fear of flying because of it, they have a phobia, that's in your DNA, and that's the reason why from the moment you were born, you had a fear of flying. We know this with fear of water. Researchers took people that were 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old that were just afraid of getting in a bathtub, afraid of a swimming pool, afraid of going to the beach. And they're going, look, this is a baby. They have had no trauma in this lifetime. Why on God's green earth would they be petrified, scream about being put into a bathtub and hate the idea of going into a pool and hate the idea of going into the beach when their brother, sister, or friend the exact same age loves getting in the bathtub, loves getting in the pool, and loves going into the water in the ocean? So why is one person completely frightened and the other is not? When the researchers looked at the history of the parents and the parents' parents and the parents' parents' parents, they find there was trauma someplace relating to water. Therefore, it's in the DNA, and that's why this child has this innate genetic disposition to have a fear or phobia toward water. It's also with depression and sadness. So you could have in your DNA a predisposition to sadness and depression. We know this is true. If you have two parents who are very shy, super shy, and they have a child, the child is programmed to be shy. If you have two parents who are performers in Broadway and they're comedians and they're outrageous and outlandish and they're always, they want to be the center of attention in the life of the party, and both mother and father are like that and they have a child, the child is not shy. The child comes out of the womb going, give me a top hat and cane. I want to go perform on Broadway. It's in the DNA. We know this. There was a study done with an Italian baby. The two Italians went to Japan. They had a baby, and then a week later, the mother and father died in a car crash. The baby was adopted by a Japanese baby. So the baby is Italian. But the baby lived in Japan their whole life with 100% pure Japanese parents. That child would go to school and they would talk like this. When the Japanese child, all the other children would talk like this, The Italian, who only speaks Japanese, still talks with his hands. It's in his DNA. He's Italian. You can tell. They talk with your hands, right? So it's in your DNA. So the happiness algorithm talks about A, what's in your DNA. Next, where do you focus your attention? Do you focus your attention on the past? Do you focus it on the future and what you're doing? Or do you focus it on the present? Or do you focus it on the future? So that's part of the algorithm, and there has to be a balance there. When you look in the past, what do you look at? Do you look at your traumas, bad things that happened, disasters, or do you recall and focus on your wins when you did really, really well? That's part of the algorithm. So there is an algorithm. It's a mathematical equation for how to be happy. And when you look at this and you just start factoring in every day, you can just say, okay, let me look at the algorithm and let me see where I am on some of these things and start making some minor adjustments. What can happen? And we've tested this with hundreds of people. What can happen is they all of a sudden start flipping from being lethargic, down, depressed, sad, into being more positive, optimistic, happier. And this leads to inner bliss and joy springing up from within. Now, there's a difference between happiness and joy and bliss. Happiness comes from external situations. So somebody throws a surprise birthday party for you and you feel happy. You get a present, you feel happy. Somebody invites you to dinner or asks you out on a date and you really like it, you feel happy. Bliss comes from within, and it bubbles up as an eternal spring of joy, regardless of what the external situations are. So there's two factors, and that's another part of the equation. If you have access to tapping into this eternal source of bliss and joy, which is connecting with source, it's really a high level of consciousness and awareness and spirituality. That is the most important driver, which will allow you to sustain happiness on a very regular basis instead of having ups and downs. Happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. People have emotional roller coaster rides in life. You know, you can do that, but you don't have to. You can be happy all the time. So this algorithm, just take note of what I said and just ask yourself where you are in some of these things, and there's more too. And you'll start seeing changes in your life for sure. Thanks for watching. If you're ready to access the secrets and insider strategies that I learned that can change everything for you, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central, we upload a brand new and hopefully thought-provoking show. The mission? The goal? What's in it for you? Well, I want to give you the knowledge and know-how to break free and unlock limitless potential in every area of your life. If you have questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comments section. I read every single comment. Also, make sure you share these videos with friends or family members to help them create the life that they want. And be smart. Follow me on all social media platforms for new and different content that I put up every single day.